everybody, in today's video I'm going to share 5 of my best tips to help you succeed in your computer science level math courses. Almost having my associate's degree in computer science, I've taken some of the toughest math classes out there. I've taken Calc 1 and 2, Discrete Math 1, Linear Algebra, and all I have left to take is Discrete Math 2. Succeeding in these classes has been really challenging and tons of work. But I have learned so much along the way, and I really believe I could tackle any math class at this point. The things that I'm about to share in this video will help you succeed, and if you apply them to your schoolwork, I hope that you will see the results that you want to see. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into those tips. Tip number 1 is to review your work often. And what I mean by that is you really want to get into the habit of periodically, as you learn something new or just periodically throughout the unit, you want to be looking back on the things that you've previously learned. You definitely do not want to save all your studying for right before the test. The absolute worst thing you can do for yourself is to just go the whole unit not really reviewing anything or like solidifying it into your mind and just wait until right before the test to try and kind of learn all of the contents of that unit. You really want to save your studying for reviewing the material. The purpose of your studying before a test should be to review everything that you've learned, not to learn it right then and there. Instead, what you want to do is you want to study throughout the unit. It doesn't have to be a lot of studying, just every once in a while, go back, look at the things that you've learned, refresh yourself on all those tough concepts, and just kind of keep up with the work. You can't do all of your learning in class. You will need to put in some effort outside of class and just really review those concepts and solidify them in your mind, so then by the time comes the end of the unit, you have all those concepts known, you know them, you'll just need to review them and refresh them right before your test. I found that this really helps relieve some of the stress that comes with testing and really helps take the pressure off of that final studying that you're doing, and it really helps me actually understand what's going on in class and the material that we're learning as we do it. Since most of the concepts that you will be learning will build on previous ones, you really want to make sure that you're staying up to date and on top of the things that you have learned previously, because chances are your professors will be expecting you to understand those as they're teaching you something new. And kind of leading off of that point, going into tip number 2 is to start studying days in advance for your exams. Now, I know this can be intimidating, but let me explain. I think when it comes to studying, a lot of people try and take the approach of studying for like hours and hours a day right before their exam. So maybe 1 or 2 days before their exam, they'll try and sit down, study for 3 or 4 hours a day in preparation for the exam they have coming up. For me personally, I found that approach really does not work. Instead, what I like to do is I like to spread my studying out in small chunks. So maybe 1 or even 2 weeks before my exam, I'll start studying just 5, 10, 20 minutes a day just to continually review those topics and really get them internalized. I found that this really helps me bring 100% focus every time I go to study and keeps me from getting bored or tired of the topic that I'm thinking about. Additionally, having all that extra time and all those extra days gives me tons and tons of time to repeatedly see the same topics and all the topics in the exam over the course of days to let it kind of settle in. I'm never rushing, never cramming, never stressed about trying to get my studying done, because I've been doing it in small chunks in the days leading up, so then by the time the test comes, all that stuff is really sunk in. It's really internalized, and I feel I know it really well. So if you really want to maximize the time you spend studying and get the most out of it, I recommend breaking it up over multiple days. That way you'll bring your 100% focus to each session and give yourself tons of time to let the material sink in. Now going right into tip number 3, and that is to do your homework. So I know this may seem obvious and you probably hear it a lot, but I do know that a lot of people don't actually put the time in to do their homework. It's easy to be in class and kind of feel like you understand the material enough and think to yourself, oh, I don't need to practice this because I'm watching, I see what they're doing, it makes sense to me, so I'm good to go. But I would say that's probably not something that you want to get used to doing. Doing homework really gives you the practice that you need for your exams. And when it comes to a math class, your exams are pretty much everything. I've had classes where my only grades, I have no homework graded, no projects, no nothing, just exams. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to do the best on your exams. So the best way to prepare for your exams is to get some practice in, and that practice comes from doing homework. It's easy to watch somebody else do a problem and think that you'll be able to do it yourself, but I've seen for myself that there's times when I'll watch my professor do a problem, I'll be like, okay, great, this makes sense, I know what I'm doing. Then I'll I'll go and do the homework and I'm just completely stumped. And the homework is the time and the place to get stumped. You do not want to be getting stumped like that on your tests. You want to get stuck on your homework when you have all the time you need to research your notes, ask questions, think about it. But when you're taking a timed exam, that's not when you want to be trying to figure out problems. You want to make sure that you've done the practice, seen a lot of different examples, and that you're coming to the exam kind of knowing the process and knowing what it is that you'll need to do. Another thing is, once you get into these higher level math classes, there's tons and tons of special scenarios, and those usually come up on the homework problems. Your professor may not always explicitly tell you what those are and show you, and it's kind of your job to come across those on the homework, and those could be things that you may end up seeing on your exams. So you want to make sure that you practiced how to handle those situations and you're developing that thinking style that'll help you adapt and think on the fly and apply what you know to figure out a problem. So after mentioning those special circumstances, that kind of leads me to tip number 4, which is to write down any of those special circumstances that you encounter. Like I kind of mentioned, as we get into these higher level math classes, the problems will hardly ever be what you're going to expect. There's almost always a special circumstance or rule or something that you'll need to remember and know how to handle. And there's going to be a lot of them, so you really want to make sure that you're keeping yourself organized. You want to find a system that'll help you keep track of all those things you need to remember, so then you can easily go back and reference them later when you're studying, doing your homework, or reviewing your topics, or whatever it may be. You want to make sure they're in a place where you can easily find them or easily pick them out of your notes. It can be easy to kind of brush these off and feel like you know them and that you'll remember them, but as they add up, there's going to be tons of them, and you really don't want to forget them, because if you're constantly losing points on these special cases, which could be really easy, you just kind of forgot it, those points will add up and they can really harm your grades. So you want to make sure you're getting your points on the small things that may be easy to remember, just special scenarios and rules. So I really recommend you find a way to record these special rules, circumstances, notation, formulas, vocabulary, anything it may be that you find confusing or that you know is going to be important. You want to record that in some way, whether that be underline, star, circling, whatever system works for you, even writing them all down on a separate sheet of paper, somewhere that you can easily reference them and look back on them will help you tremendously be successful. Okay, so going into tip number 5, my final tip of the day is to practice problems from your notes. So I know I just came on here and said, start studying for weeks in advance before your tests, but you may be thinking I'm crazy. And I know as computer science majors, we can be so busy, and any other major really that has to take these high level classes like that, the work adds up and your time there's not a lot of it. You don't have a lot of free time. You don't have a lot of extra time to invest in studying these classes. But for something like a math class, you really do want to make sure you're getting in that practice. So the best way I would say to study when you're in a pinch for time is to practice the problems that you've done in your notes. Practicing the problems that your professors have shown you in class is a pretty good way to set yourself up for success on your exams. Chances are they won't give you something too far off from what they've shown you in class, and if they do, that'd be pretty unfair of them, but you never know. But at the minimum, you can at least know the things that they've shown you. By practicing those, there's a good chance that your exam questions will be similar to those, and once you've seen them, you can hopefully apply the concepts of the problems that you practice and were shown in class to those problems that are on your exam. And maybe not all of the problems that you've been shown, but I would recommend doing at least one of each type of the problems of each different concept that you've been taught, and that way you can hopefully really learn and solidify those concepts as much as you can in the little time you can, and get some practice with those kinds of questions that you've been taught. So take those problems, rewrite them, cover the answers, and test yourself and see if you can solve them on your own. If you can, great. If you can't, then you definitely want to go back and review those steps. And by doing that, you can get some practice in and hopefully start to really understand what's going on with those problems and apply those concepts to maybe other problems that will be on your exam. By doing that, I would say you give yourself the best chance to succeed in the little amount of time that you have. Alright, that was tip number 5, so that's going to be it for today's video. I really hope that you guys take these tips and apply them to your classes so that you can see the results that you want to see. Math as a computer science major is extremely important, so you really want to make sure that you're understanding how to learn and how to study so that you can do well in those classes. I really hope that you all enjoyed today's video, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next time. Bye!